All right, we're live. This would be our very first, I would say, live straight from YouTube. It's very exciting actually to think about the fact that now we could do that. We can actually go live and have our own shows and host it, you know, get connected and speak to the people and get to know how people feel and what people think. Look, let's dive straight into the topic. Today, we're going to talk about something very interesting and something that most of you have requested. I received a lot of private messages about this, what's going on right now in the world, and what we could do to leverage this to build our own path to wealth, right? And it's actually quite fascinating if you think about it. The fact that with conflict, with global conflict, we actually can build wealth as well. And this is what we're going to talk about today. We're talking about why is Greenland such a hot topic and why is it so important for the United States of America to own Greenland? Take it over from Denmark. Because this is the question. These are the messages that I received. What does that mean for us economically, financially? What can we do to leverage that situation, if possible, for our advantage? But I'm happy to announce that it is possible, but it might require a little bit of intuition, understanding, and analyzing what's truly going on. So what are the things that the media or mainstream media, I would say, is not saying, is not telling us that actually makes sense for us to look into and dissect? So let's get started. Let's start actually with Greenland itself. What is it and why is it so important or urgent, let's say, for the United States to own it?
President Trump is renewing calls for the U.S. to acquire Greenland and says his team is considering a range of options to make the self-governing Danish territory a part of the United States. Trump has cited the territory's importance for U.S. national security, but of course there are other reasons the U.S. may want Greenland, even though Greenland has said it is not for sale. Joining us now, Yahoo Finance's Jake Conley, who recently visited Greenland on assignment for Yahoo Finance. Jake.
Correct.
This is such an interesting story and speaks to why the U.S. might be interested in Greenland. You had exclusive access to visit a potential oil exploration site there. Tell us about what you discovered.
Yeah, Julie, this company called MarchGL right now, when it goes public via SPAC merger, probably end of this month, early next month, it'll be called Greenland Energy Company, led by a veteran oilman named Robert Price, who's been in this field for 40 plus years. Called March. The U.S. Geologic Survey puts Arctic oil at 90 billion barrels.
Wow.
These guys think on this Jameson land prospect, they could be sitting on up to 13 billion, which would be the biggest find in the last decade.
By point of comparison, remind me how much the reserves under Venezuela are that we're talking about?
300 billion barrels.
300 billion barrels. Okay,
right,
so
right.
So still smaller than something like
Yes.
that, but incrementally, potentially large.
And the difference you have here is that Venezuelan oil is all this really heavy crude we've been talking about, right? Really thick, hard to process. The oil that they're sitting on, they think they're sitting on this Greenland patch, is very similar to Brent crude in the North Sea. Light, sweet oil, really good for the market, and trades at a premium to pretty much every other grade on the planet.
Well, as you know, the United States is very big on consumption. We are probably the country that consumes the most, that also produces a lot. Now, I believe China is producing a lot more than the United States, but still the United States is a very, very consuming and capitalistic country, meaning with a lot of consumption, there needs to come an adequate amount of production. And without energy, it is pretty much hard to produce anything. For factories to run, for businesses, startups to run, for virtual servers to run, we need energy for all of that. So we need oil, and we need natural gas, we need hydro power plants, we need all sort of energy producing resources in order to sustain our consumption. That's why a few weeks ago, what happened in Venezuela happened. It was just an opportunity for the United States of America to seize complete and absolute control of the largest reserve of oil in the world, arguably. So it is not a coincidence what we saw. It is not a coincidence by any stretch of imagination. It is very, very real. It is very concrete. And we've seen now, right after the fact, President Trump went on record and said the United States is going to seize complete control of the country, is going to appoint the vice president as current head of state, and in the meantime, the United States, through private enterprises, namely Exxon, is going to run the organization. And there was actually a statement from one of the leaders of the said company that went on record and say that Exxon has always been present, at least in the past, and they're kind of familiar, and they believe that this is even greater opportunity for the company to grow further.
First and foremost, obviously, is the interest that we have in Venezuela. And I think, the way I would position that, I think one of the reasons why we see many of the industry players here is we're in a depletion business for a product that is in great demand and will be in demand for many, many, many decades to come. And as a depletion business, the biggest challenge we have is finding resources. There's an opportunity in Venezuela with all the resources there. Is we don't have that challenge of finding, we have the challenge of developing those resources. So I think it's in the best interest of these companies and, frankly, society as a whole for the industry to be interested in understanding what the opportunity here represents. I'll just share a philosophy that ExxonMobil has when we enter countries, because we do business all around the world in a number of different regimes. We take a very long-term perspective. The investments that we make span decades and decades, so we do not go into any opportunity with a short-term mindset. And there's a value proposition that we have to meet. It has to be a win-win-win proposition. Obviously, it has to be a win for the company and our shareholders and to generate a return for the investments that we make. It has to be a win for the government. The resources are an important source of revenue that helps support the people of the places that we do business. And it has to be a win for the people. We have to be wanted there and to be a good neighbor. And those three things ensure a stable, long-term platform for the large investments that we make for the long term.
So this is what it is about here. It is not about just security, national security, national sovereignty. There is more to it than just that. And we want you to be aware of that, because it could benefit you. All that chaos could, at the end of the day, benefit you too. And we're going to find ways to actually make that work for you as well. So let's talk about how can you possibly leverage this situation in order to make money. How can you make money from this? Well, it is very simple. You need to understand first that whenever the United States makes an investment, it backs up the currency of the United States, which is the US dollar. Not the Canadian dollar, but the United States dollar. So understanding that means that potentially you investing in the United States dollar in anticipation of the upside of the United States controlling the largest oil reserve in the world is going to back the currency and is going to make the United States dollar stronger. You want to bet on that. That's how you build wealth. The blueprint is there. It is literally made available to all of us in broad daylight. And all we need to do is step into it boldly and start investing. It is really not as hard as it sounds, pretty much. It's literally the blueprint. That's what we need to do. We invest on what makes sense. The US dollar makes sense to invest in. So you want to focus on that. You want to make sure that you have some dollars put into the US dollar, actually. So this is one of the things But also, there was another chapter to the whole saga with Greenland. There are a few things that most people do not know about Greenland, but we're here to talk about this. Did you know that Greenland actually happens to be sitting literally on top of 17.5 billion barrels of oil? Did you know that? No, you did not. Why? Because the media did not tell you. Well, why would they tell you that? Because it is important for you to follow the script, that it is all about national security, which kind of makes sense, and we're going to touch on it in a second. But primarily, if Greenland sits on top of 17.5 billion barrels of oil, and then that's not even all. There is a cherry on top of the cake. Greenland actually also possesses about 10% of the entire planet's fresh water reserve. So it is definitely a great opportunity for investors here. In the next 3 years, you might just so happen that investing in oil and the oil price, if you're speculating, it's going to be a good idea. You're not going to lose. If you want to bet on these particular commodities, knowing that the US dollar is backing them, which is going to be coming back on top, because what the US is trying to do in Greenland is to take a cut out of China, because China right now control about 80% of the overall production of these rare minerals that sits, under Greenland. So now, by taking over Greenland, the United States is retaliating and fighting back. And this is an opportunity. So you don't want to miss that opportunity, okay? That's what we're all about here. We are about telling you that there are great chances that the United States is not doing it just because they care about national security. This live was just for you to have an idea of what's going on. My name is Michael C. Fanning. Welcome to my show. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please feel free to do so. And you can get more about my content and my strategies and my weekly publications on michaelcfanning.com. You can follow me on TikTok, Michael C. Fanning Official. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. And of course, I am also right here on YouTube. It's the same handle, Michael C. Fanning Official. Want the roadmap to your family's financial legacy? Join our online community at michaelcfanning.com and follow us on social media. For more powerful content like this, hit subscribe, like, and share this video.